It's the moment you didn't know you're waiting for.
He is Carter.
He's Chad.
And this is the Irish
365 podcast.
Chad, this is Lou Holtz. That's head coach of Notre Dame for 11 years. Greatest experience of my life. They're starting a Notre Dame podcast this summer. I have a podcast as well, but it's not about Notre Dame football, although I wish there were. But congratulations on your success. And it would be nice if I could be on your podcast, but my schedule is so hectic. But anything that has to do with Notre Dame, I'm all for it. God bless you. Go Irish.
Welcome into Irish 365, episode 22.
The bye week.
The bye
Number
week.
2.
Bye week 2.
Yeah.
Episode 22.
Yeah.
And who's in Indiana this weekend?
Taylor Swift.
Taylor Swift. Wow.
I don't know about you.
Well, we're feeling 22
We're
today.
feeling 22.
And we're here Sunday morning.
Yeah. We debated waiting till after the new AP poll
Yeah.
come out because there was so much movement.
So, yeah. Great day college football yesterday.
But it was fun.
I think we're both too excited to wait till 3 o'clock when the rankings come out. I know I am.
I was really glad. Got up in the morning, did some stuff, watched a little football, did some stuff.
Yep.
Watched a little football.
Yep.
You know, I had the 3-screen effect
You
going
had it
on
going.
yesterday.
Yeah.
I know you weren't able to quite watch.
I watched
screen.
that Penn State, Ohio State, watched the early ones. They had a wedding to go to.
Yeah.
Great wedding. Got to
Yeah,
get that out
hey.
there. And I don't know if the bride listens every single time to our podcast, but I've been told on multiple occasions she loves our intro.
Okay.
So,
Well, hey, now if she's gone a few minutes farther,
yep.
shout out to the bride.
Yep.
All right.
Yep. So shout out. But
And, St. Mary's student. As
yes,
well. St. Mary's
graduate.
graduate. So
Yep.
a little bit Irish connection. For her.
Exactly.
So anyway, yeah, and I get to rock my lovely wife bought me this after listening to the podcast and
Yeah.
hearing that I won a Catholics versus Conferences shirt.
Yep. I got one too. Thanks, Mom.
And I thought, hey, Christy, this is a perfect shirt. This is a perfect show to wear it.
Yep.
You know, and it kind of we announced this game next year, opening up the season with Miami.
Yep.
Nod to the Catholics versus Conferences.
First convicts.
Or convicts, and
Yep.
then we got the whole conference thing going on right now with which conferences are going to be in, how many teams are going to be in. So
Ugh. Convicts.
this ought to be an interesting conversation and show
Oh, I'm pumped.
from that standpoint. I think we got to talk a little bit about the week in the past. Normally
Yep.
we talk about the game prior, but
Yep.
the only game we saw in person this past week was basketball
Yeah, it
on
was-
Wednesday night.
Yeah, we saw some Irish basketball in Fort Wayne at the Coliseum in
Yeah.
town here against local team Purdue Fort Wayne. Division I program for those of you that don't know. So
And they were projected to win the Summit, I believe, this year. They're one of the favorites.
yeah, they're definitely up there. I think they've been in the semifinals or finals last 2 or 3 years, if I'm remembering correctly.
Yeah.
So a team that you could potentially see in the tournament down there in March.
Yeah, I'm not saying a team that's going to be anything higher than a 15, 16 seed in the
No.
tournament, but definitely a potential tournament team.
Yep.
It was what I expected for preseason basketball.
Oh, yeah.
Exhibition basketball. A little sloppy at
Sloppy.
times.
Yeah.
But I liked what I saw from the Irish offense. They were able to put up 90.
Yeah, and we saw a lot of the starters for a majority of the game. That's one thing I wasn't sure. Like, we're going to see them for 20, like the first half, and then the second half's going to be all bench, which would have been fine. But I think the bench, like the deep bench, probably played the last 5 to 7 minutes.
Yeah. I'll tell you what, Serta came in at the 7-minute mark, the freshman.
Yep.
I heard he was a great shooter. The
Yeah.
Irish staff thought maybe he was the best shooter in the class of 24.
Yeah.
The kid could shoot.
Yeah.
He came in cold and he just hit threes.
Yep.
So that was good. I thought Marcus Burton was a little sloppy, but then he settled in and played really good.
Yeah. I mean, you got to remember, this is like their first time playing anyone besides themselves since last year. So it was definitely, I know it was just, I mean, the venue was pretty packed. I mean, probably 4,000 or 5,000 people,
which is a big
crowd on
on
a Wednesday night. But I mean, you could tell even Notre Dame guys were excited to get back out on the court playing someone else, like even if it was a lesser opponent.
Because I think it's so hard when you play a scrimmage in practice because one, the team you're playing knows exactly what you're trying to do, and they either try and jump the passes or like when I was coaching young basketball players, it would always drive me nuts because they knew the play. They would try and jump the route, and it's like, okay, now my offense can't get a chance to run this possession because the defense is anticipating, or the defense is like, oh, we're going to stop and not try, and it's like, how do you?
It's hard to find the balance.
You mean you got to play basketball, and I can't help it if my kid's smart enough to know the play. But it's also terrible. But yeah, so it's good to get to play somebody else in an exhibition, and The guy that I think probably impressed me the most yesterday or
The other
Wednesday
day, yeah.
was Shrewsbury.
Yeah, he played really well.
Like, he just played fundamental, solid, just much more confidence oozed off of him
Yeah.
than, like, I felt like last year it was a freshman year, and
His dad was the coach.
his dad was the coach, and questioning himself, and just he just looked comfortable in his own skin, and he played like it. And it's like, okay, if we get that version of Shrewsbury week in and week, because when he's good, he's good.
Yeah. And speaking of Shrewsbury, we were 2 rows behind the bench, and watching Coach Shrewsbury that was a fun time. He was definitely animated. He was fired up. He was ready. He was getting the guys going.
Oh yeah,
definitely a fun character to watch.
Oh yeah, watching him coach and like turn around and make someone do something inappropriate. I should say inappropriate, but someone not make their assignment or not catch a backdoor cut or whatever.
Yeah,
and not yell, not scream, but turn around, and talk to the guys on the bench. Okay, this is why we do this. And and he was coaching well into the game. 2 minutes left. I mean, not yelling, not screaming, just coaching, making the team better and taking every
chatting up the refs every chance he got.
Yeah, I mean, there was a couple different times. I don't know what him and the ref close to him were talking about, but they were both laughing pretty good. They were having a chuckle at it. So and then we got to sit by his dad, like just
a couple seats over,
seats over from us. So we were impressed with the entire Shrewsbury family, I guess, on Wednesday. But I thought a lot about a coach and their demeanor and how they interact with the players, especially in a game like that. I mean, he was coaching the entire game.
Yeah.
And he was coaching up the guys.
And I think basketball is one of those sports where you see it the most because they're talking to him so much. Like, they're subbing in and out. They've got timeouts. Like, obviously in football, there's so many guys. Like, the coach can't go up and talk to every single guy. Like, basketball, they're making changes. It's so much, I don't want to say so much more coaching, but like the head coach, I feel like, has such a greater role because he was helping on subbing. He was helping on.
Oh, yeah. He did.
He's talking to him every chance he get.
When I go to a basketball game, I watch the game, but I watch the coach quite a bit too. It's just the way I like to watch the basketball game. And he didn't rely on an assistant coach to tell him when a sub should go or like minutes or like, there wasn't any foul trouble, but I think he was pretty much in command of like when he wanted the sub guys in. I mean, we were into the, second half, and I know he turned around and said, "Hey, you're going in at 7 minutes. I'm gonna have you going at 5." And like, he had good command going in. So I'm excited. Again, I'm still excited about the Irish basketball program.
Yep.
I mean, they're not gonna. I don't expect them to win the ACC this year. I'm not saying that, but I do think I think they're going to be a threat in the ACC, and I think they're going to be a strong contender to make the tournament. I think it's a tournament team this year. I really do.
Yep.
And I think they just get better.
But we're sitting here on November 3rd.
Yeah, preseason. Everybody's undefeated, right?
Is it basketball season yet? Maybe.
It's getting there.
But
it's getting there.
It's still football season, right?
Yeah,
let's
not kid myself. I mean, we've still got 4 Notre Dame games.
Yeah, we've got Florida 4 good ones too.
Yeah, we got Florida State coming in, which isn't the game we'd hope for.
But still, it's Florida State.
It's a dangerous Florida State team. They're
1-7. Yeah, they're going to have athletes. I mean, if they're going to show up for one more game this year,
this is it. Right?
This is going to be the one. Come to Notre Dame Stadium, night game.
Yeah, we really expected a undefeated or one-loss Florida State coming in and contending for ACC and playoff.
We probably thought the record was going to be flipped around. Not 1-7, but 7-1.
Yeah, we really thought this game was going to have like playoff ranking, like written all over it. Like, this game's really important because we expected Notre Dame to come in undefeated as well.
Yep.
We did not predict the loss to NIU.
Right.
And if that was the case, Notre Dame would be sitting in the 2 or 3 spot.
Yeah.
I think they'd have probably been 3 and heading toward 2.
Yeah.
But number 3 for sure. Florida State would have been in that 6-7 range, if not 5.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, this is supposed to have been a top 10 matchup, maybe top 5 matchup going in.
College game day, all the big stuff, everything's there.
College game day's not showing up.
Nope.
Florida State, I think they're going to show up, but they might not.
It's going to be a little chillier this weekend in South Bend.
So. What is the mindset there? And then you follow it up with a Virginia team coming to South Bend,
which is better than they've been in the years past. Not saying it's going to be a great football team, but they've had 2 wins the last 3 years. But I do like that this game's senior day. We talked about this early on in the season.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a good. You always want to win senior day. You're always locked in for senior day.
Yep.
You don't want to let those seniors go out on a bad note. So very thankful this Virginia game is a senior day game.
Absolutely. And then then we travel to Army. or we travel to a neutral site for the Shamrock Series game versus Army in Brooklyn, New York at Yankee Stadium.
Yep.
I don't think there'll be any problem with the Irish being up for that game.
Nope.
Army will be ranked in the top 25 team.
Yep.
Or at least I expect they will be still at that point. So that'll be a good game. That'll be a lot of hype.
Shamrock Series is excited for that one.
Yeah, and then you turn around and you travel
7
to the
days
West Coast.
later, coast to coast.
And I've thought about this one, and I'm like, where USC is at and the way their season has gone.
Yeah.
I think they're falling apart, but I think we're going to get their best shot.
Oh, and I've always said this. USC is a good football team this year. They just haven't finished a game.
Yeah.
They almost beat Penn State. I think it was Minnesota they lost to late. Like they've lost some games pretty late it's like they're not a bad
team.
Not as bad as the record's showing right now.
But
They're
so
gonna put up points.
that's going to be a dangerous game as well. And I think for the Irish, that coast-to-coast travel, that Newt Rockney, I mean, we're not taking the train, but going from the East Coast to the West Coast in a week, and it's, Thanksgiving week and everything else. So to me, that game is still probably the most dangerous game on the schedule.
100%.
But, and I thought about this, and I don't, if you follow the Irish and you're on this podcast, you're probably all over social media, and you've seen that, Marcus Freeman is tied Frank Leahy for number of top 25 wins in the first 3 years. And I thought about it a lot. And it's like, because I think we had a question from a listener.
Yeah.
And that question was?
This question came from all the way overseas, actually.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
It was our Danish contingent.
It was our Danish contingent.
Shout out
Martin.
Shout out to Martin and the Danish.
Yeah. So Martin was asking, are the Irish going to get into the playoff? And that really couldn't have been a greater just pushed us right into what we want to talk about today.
Yeah, let's talk playoffs.
We're talking about the playoffs.
Playoffs? Are you kidding me?
The 12-team playoffs. We got our first official college football playoff. Top 25 rankings come out this Tuesday. Now you might be thinking, is there something else going on Tuesday? Yes, the NFL trade deadline is Tuesday.
That's right. I knew there was something important going on Tuesday.
So we got the college football playoff rankings coming out and NFL trade deadline, and that is all that's going on Tuesday here in the
Nothing
US.
else.
That's it.
That's it.
All right, that's it. I think so.
If you haven't, go out and vote. That's all I'm going to say.
Yep. All right. So, I was thinking about this. Why don't we try to rank what we predict this top 25 is going to be like? Because if anything's ever told us, this first college football playoff ranking is not going to be identical to the AP poll or the coaches poll. They will have their own way. There won't be any of this tie crap that we've been seeing the last few weeks. I'm still not buying that that's happening multiple times this year on the AP poll. But college football playoff rankings, some teams are going to be higher, some teams are going to be, quite a bit higher and quite a bit lower than what or what the AP poll has.
Well, yeah, we've seen this with the college football playoff polls last few years. And I think it's because the coaches poll, the AP poll, whatever it is, coaches, writers, whoever are predicting where they think teams are going to be coming into the season.
Yep.
And then that's a bias that's cooked in.
Yep.
Right? I mean, that's just where the college football committee comes in and says, we don't care what the rankings are.
Yep.
We're looking at the resume through, 9 weeks.
Yep.
And we're going to say, based on the resume, where do we think they're ranked?
Yep.
And I think that makes it really, really interesting.
Yep.
Because there's going to be some discrepancies, and I think it's going to be like, okay, now what does this mean?
Yeah.
How does this roll? How does this go?
Yeah. So I think the exciting part is we get 6 of these rankings every Tuesday until I think it's December 8th. So 35 days from right now, when we're sitting here, we're gonna have our playoff matchups. So I am so excited for.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm looking through these scenarios and I'm like, man, that's gonna be a great game. And it's just teams you don't normally see against each other. I'm fired up.
All right, so let's take our shot at it. Let's try and see if we can come up with a top. You want to go top 10, top 5? Let's go top 12.
Just top. I think we gotta do top. I think we gotta roll farther because
15.
15.
All right,
you want to?
Let's take our best guess at who we think the college football playoff committee will rank 1 through 15, and I find this so fascinating. I've been.
So we're starting at 1, right?
Yeah, starting at 1.
Yeah.
I think the college football playoff committee is going to start with a number 1 ranked team. They've got to be undefeated.
Yep.
And
I don't think there's going to be much arguing on this one.
And I think there's only 3 teams that even fit that category of undefeated.
Undefeated, yes.
Undefeated. There's only 3 teams that are undefeated: Oregon, Miami, and IU.
Yeah, I believe there might be a BYU in there as well.
BYU undefeated this. Yeah,
Yes.
you're right. BYU is also.
But I don't
undefeated.
think 3 of those teams have a chance of being number 1.
Yeah.
So I'm going to lock in Oregon.
I would agree with that. I think Oregon's got to be your clear number 1. I their resume, and they're going to look at who they beat first.
Yep.
And then they're going to look at who they lost to second.
Yep.
And when you look at who they beat, I mean, Oregon has beat Ohio State, Boise State,
Yep.
and Illinois,
Yep.
who are currently all
Ranked.
Now,
Yep.
as of the time we're filming this podcast, it may change
I
this
was gonna
afternoon.
say Illinois lost. They might not be, but they could still be in the College Football Playoff ranking. Don't forget that. Just because they're not in the AP poll today does not mean they won't be in the College Football Playoff ranking. Illinois.
Yeah, exactly. And then I look at like the remaining schedule for Oregon, and they're going to Maryland, then they're going to Wisconsin, and they're going to Washington.
Yep.
So I don't see
any slip ups there.
I can't imagine a scenario in which Oregon doesn't finish the season number 1 at this point.
Yeah.
I mean, I think
Or in the Big Ten championship.
the Big Ten championship.
Yep.
And I guess that's probably more appropriate. to
Yeah,
say.
they could lose a Big Ten championship rematch against Ohio State. I mean, who knows? Maybe if IU goes out and beats Ohio State, and Oregon only beat Ohio State by 3, well, if Indiana comes out and beats Ohio State by 14, you might be saying,
Yeah.
IU might be Big Ten champ. So, I mean, it's a crazy world we live in this year, but.
Absolutely. So I think Oregon's our number 1.
Yep, I 100% agree with that. Now, 2 is where it gets interesting. I saw a lot of things on social media. Try not to let it influence you too much. Who are your options here for number 2?
See, I feel like they're going to put weight on the undefeated.
I disagree with that completely.
And I've struggled with that. I've
If
struggled
the
with
College
that.
Football Playoff Committee has told us absolutely anything with all their previous rankings, strength of schedule matters.
Yeah.
And I know who you're thinking there. You're considering putting Miami all the way up there at number 2.
Actually, yeah, I'm thinking Miami or possibly IU.
You're nuts.
I know IU.
You're
sounds
nuts. Don't even go there. Don't even tell me you're thinking about putting IU number 2. We will not have the same rankings. We will split this show. You can do your crap rankings, and I'll do what's actually going to happen on Tuesday.
Okay.
If you're going to put IU at 2,
I'm not
I'm
not saying I would.
Has IU played how many teams over 500 this year?
They haven't played anybody.
1 team over 500.
I mean, that is the hard part about IU.
The College Football Playoff Committee will not have IU in the top, I'd say top 8. Earliest they come in is 9.
I feel like they'll put them up there.
And I think there's a situation they could be 15. So don't try to tell me they're 2, because I'm not buying what you're selling there.
I think there's a chance. Now, I'm not saying they're going to, but I do think there's a chance. And I could be crazy.
I agree.
I've been known to be a little out of the mainstream on some things, but I don't think it's unreasonable.
The College Football Playoff Committee has not put so much weight on being undefeated versus strength of schedule.
I know, but
it's not a new committee this year.
It's not a new committee.
It's the same people.
So you think you think a 1-loss team is going to be ranked above a no-loss team at this point still?
1,000%.
Because we got Miami, BYU, and IU.
There is no doubt in me. It's either going to be, I'll tell you, it's either going to be Georgia, Ohio State at number 2.
Yeah.
And that's who it's not going to be anyone else. Georgia, Ohio State are 2 or 3.
See, and I think, and this is where I've been back and forth. I'm with you. Ultimately, it's going to be a little bit of that elite bias.
I was going to say, we need to get that tinfoil hat off you.
Yeah, I mean,
I don't want to hear IU at number 2.
I think
I know. I know they're undefeated.
And it could be, could be the fact that I'm in Indiana and I hear about them a little more than others. But
which I do want to give props to IU. Like, I'm not trying to trash them. The teams they have played, they have handled.
Yeah.
Like, they have. And I want to give all props there. But I'm just saying, I know that I feel like I have a pretty good feeling for this committee. They're going to weight strength of schedule pretty heavily. And that's why I think an IU may not even be in the top 12 right now because they haven't played anyone. And I think Miami's going to fall a little bit farther than people think because they haven't played anyone.
See, I disagree. And the reason I say that is I think the committee, well, I could be wrong, because ultimately they're going to rank them where they're going to rank them, and then they'll look at the seeding is going to be a separate issue.
Yes.
So Miami could be outside your top.
They could be,
because I feel like the committee has had a little bit of.
They could be unranked Miami and win the ACC championship and be the number 4 seed.
I feel like in the past the committee, I won't say has had a bias, but I think the committee has somewhat had an agenda in the way they rank teams. Like, they wouldn't rank the SEC champion 1 and the SEC loser in the championship game 4. Like, they would.
I think on the final rankings, I agree with that, but the other ones, I don't agree.
Yeah, so I think there's, but with the way the schedule and the ranking and the seeding works, there's no need to put a Miami 3.
Nope.
Because they're going to be 3 when the seeding comes out.
Yep.
So you can rank them. So in that respect, that's where I go back and say, okay, now let's talk about how we rank these teams. Now you're going to start talking about Georgia versus Ohio State. Is that because Penn State was number 3, and I think we both agree they're out.
Yeah, they're not 2 or 3.
Yeah, so they're out. So now I look at Ohio State,
and that's in the AP. I don't know where the college football playoff had them.
Yeah, and I look at Ohio State and I say, okay, who are their quality wins?
Yep.
Penn State.
They beat Penn State, and then they went on the road and lost by, 3 to Oregon?
3 to Oregon.
Which is I know people don't like this saying, a quality loss, but that is a very quality loss. On the road, at night, in Eugene. So that's where Ohio State's at. They didn't play anyone really early in the season. They don't have a bunch of quality wins. Penn State, now they do have, obviously, they're ending the season. They play IU, Michigan, so
yeah,
got that one coming up. And then you're going to get into what they call the eyeball test, though, between these two teams, right?
Well, then I'm gonna throw this at you. If you're giving Ohio State credit for this 32-31 loss,
yep, or it was a 1-point loss
to Oregon,
yep,
how much credit are you going to give Boise State for that 37-34 loss to Oregon?
Oh, Boise State's going to get some credit. They're going to be up for me.
Right. All right. I'm just like, you gotta.
Yep.
You can't make the argument.
No.
Because
I've got I ranked all these teams. Boise State's in my top 12.
Because the only other quality win of a current top 25 team you've got for Ohio State is that win against Penn State yesterday.
Yeah.
Which was a 7-point win at Penn State. Solid win.
But I think it's a 7-point win, but did it feel like a 7-point win? Or did it feel like they controlled that game pretty easily after that first 10 minutes? I'm just saying, like, that's something the committee will consider. I know it's a 7-point win, but yes, I'm with you. Ohio State and Georgia are 2 options here, but let's look at Georgia then.
Yeah.
So Georgia's got a loss to Alabama,
which was a tough loss, 34-41.
Yeah, but week 1 they beat Clemson. What was it, 34-3?
Yes, they smoked Clemson.
And then they beat Texas,
which was 30-15.
And that game was at Texas?
I believe so.
I believe at Texas. So yeah, on the road at Texas. And then so those are their 3 big games. Obviously, lost to Alabama. That was an interesting game. Alabama was undefeated at the time. And they've been different, so I don't know. I don't know if that same score would happen if they played again, but that's besides the point. But they've got Ole Miss, Georgia Tech, and Massachusetts on the schedule.
Yeah, I mean,
so I think that Ole Miss is a very interesting game. Ole Miss is so hit or miss. If they show up, they're pretty solid. They can put up a crap ton of points.
Ask Auburn.
Darts. I think their quarterback put up 6 tutties yesterday, and then but then they have some weeks where they just look like terrible.
And Charlie Weiss Jr. I mean, he's calling a good game plan, right?
Yeah, I think,
And then I go back to like the Ohio. So I lean Georgia here.
That's where I'm at. I lean Georgia right now. I saw the argument for Ohio State, but I am leaning Georgia right now. I think they have a better resume.
And I don't think that Penn State is that good. In fact, I think Ohio State's a very beatable team. I think they got a lot of flaws.
I think the fun part about this year of college football is every team is very beatable.
Yeah.
For different reasons, on different days, and who shows up. And yesterday, Penn State is a poorly coached football team. And I will tell you that.
Yeah. That
poorly coached football team.
That is.
You get a pick 6 to go up at the time 9-0. And before you can kick an extra point, you have 2 penalties.
Yeah.
A false start and a taunting.
Yeah.
Or I think it was taunting. Yeah, right.
Taunting and a false. Yeah, it was just
you just went up 2 scores at home very early, and you can't even kick the extra point before having 2 penalties on you.
Yeah.
I mean, bad coaching, and that's just an example.
And Franklin's getting a lot of flack, a lot of heat. He's got a lot of that. He wins the games he should, and he can't win the big game. And there's a couple coaches that have that stigma, and you do not want to have that stigma.
Yep.
So I'm with you. I think Georgia 2.
Okay, so I think that slides us in Georgia 2, and then I think we automatically are going Ohio State 3 here, right? I don't think there's any. I mean, if we're arguing Ohio State 2, I don't think there's anyone that we're arguing to be above Ohio State for 3 there. Then are we?
See, I'm not sure. I think you're going to give the recency success, I think, is going to be what gives Ohio State that benefit of the doubt. But if I was the committee and I was looking at this strictly coming in and not looking at last year's performance, I mean, again, they've got a loss to Oregon, which was a close loss.
A 1-point loss on the road.
They got a win over Penn State. And then I'll say, well, how good's Penn State? I mean, Penn State's only quality win is Illinois.
Yep.
And an Illinois team that almost lost to Purdue.
Yeah.
And we know that Purdue is not setting the world on fire this year. So, yeah, I think that's where I feel like it should be Ohio State to me.
I think it will be Ohio State.
And that's where I start to creep into my mind. Does a Miami or a BYU or an IU, and I can't believe I'm saying this, it's not 1960, 1946. I start to wonder if one of those teams can creep in.
Not this high. I'm still not convinced this high. I've got Ohio State 3 here.
So here's my argument for IU. And if you put IU 3, they've got to play Oregon, or they got to play Ohio State soon, right?
Yep.
So I could see where you say, I'm going to put IU in that mix right now because they've got the undefeated schedule, the undefeated ranking, or undefeated record. I could see an argument for putting them in that 3rd spot.
Okay, but here's my argument for you then. If you are so bold on IU and you have them up at number 3, they lose to Ohio State, so they don't make the Big Ten championship. They're going to be in no matter what, right? Even if they lose by 70.
That's the question. How bad do they lose?
If they lose 70-0, not saying this is going to happen, and you have IU at 3, they finish with 1 loss. Are they dropping 9 spots? Do you want to see IU that when they play a big team, a team that's over 500, and they got their butts beat? Do you want to see them play another one?
But I think they're going to get dropped out if that's the case.
You think they're going to drop 9 spots from number 3?
Why couldn't they?
I'm just saying. I think
if they lose 70-0, absolutely.
I'm just saying. I think you have them much, much lower on that 9-10. So if it's the case, it's an easy bump out. Yeah. It's not such a big deal where they're dropping 18 spots back.
Well, that's the other counter argument is you put Ohio State there, knowing that IU has to beat them.
Yep.
And then IU can jump up because they just knocked off the number 3 team in the country.
Exactly.
Right?
That's my argument. I mean, I don't see a reason to have IU up because I think that's a much more unknown because they haven't played. I mean, I can't understand this enough. They've handled everyone on their schedule.
Handled, not just beat them, but handled.
Like they've beat everyone by a good margin. I can't overstate that enough. But again, you've played nobody.
They haven't played the strongest schedule.
And now if you're going to go comp opponents, that's where your argument could get me because they played Nebraska and they kicked the butt out of Nebraska and Ohio State did not.
Yes.
So that's where you can get me on this, but I still think the committee's going to go Ohio State 3.
I really do. I throw the IU argument out there for conversation. I don't think IU gets that spot. You're just trying
to get me fired up here.
I would say
my pen's clicking over here. You can hear it.
I can hear it. I would say it's probably going to be Ohio State, but if it was not Ohio State, I think Miami or BYU slides into that spot.
Against you.
I know we disagree.
Ohio State. Yeah, you're not going to like where I've got my rankings for Miami, BYU, or IU.
Well, you know what? We're going to debate it.
I know.
And I'm going to be right, and you're going to change your mind.
Nope. That's not happening.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, so we agree. We'll go Ohio State in that 3 spot. Okay. So then 4 gets interesting. See, I really think they're going to get Miami or BYU in 4.
I do not whatsoever.
Who do you think's 4?
Texas.
Who's
their loss?
Georgia.
Who's it? We just ranked
2.
Yep.
Yeah.
And they've had a pretty good,
but it was a 2-score loss. It was.
Right, but get Texas's schedule. 30-15. They beat. Pull them up.
They don't have any wins.
I know.
Over any other top 25 teams.
I know, but they've been handling people.
I
know.
But who have they handled? They haven't beat a top
SEC.
25.
You know there's SEC bias. Come on now.
I know, but your argument for Texas is the exact argument you're making against IU or against Miami even.
Okay, you're going
to tell me Miami's not more impressive than Texas.
Miami is not more impressive than Texas.
They're undefeated.
Okay, they haven't been Texas played Duke. They have not been down.
Texas barely got by Vandy,
who I think is a top 25 team. I don't think we should be sliding Vandy right now. They beat Alabama.
I'm just saying.
I'm just saying. I think Vandy's probably in this college football playoffs rankings top 25.
Yeah. So
I think that Vandy's a top 25 team that I know we got ranked top 25 wins, but Texas beat Vandy at Vandy where Alabama couldn't.
Yeah.
So I don't want to hear any Vandy slide.
Well, I'm not putting Alabama ahead of Texas, but
Well, I'm not either, but I'm just saying I think Miami barely getting past Duke yesterday at home.
I just think that when you look at it,
I just not impressed by Miami. I've seen I think parts of 2 Miami games and then clips. They just have not. They don't impress me.
Yeah.
They don't. And I know they're undefeated, and I know all this and all that, and their quarterback does it. But we watched one of their touchdowns early in the game yesterday. A Duke guy literally smacked the ball out of the air, and Miami guy just catches it in the end. I'm like, and that guy's up for a Heisman. Like, he threw it right to the defender, and the defender goes to Duke, so he can't catch.
All right. So let's exactly. Otherwise, he'd be an offensive player somewhere else.
Yeah.
So now let's talk about BYU, the other undefeated team.
Okay.
Because I think that's a real strong candidate for that next spot. They have got wins.
You want to see where I got BYU ranked in mine?
Not yet. You can tell me, though.
Yeah.
BYU's got 2 top 25 wins currently. 38-9 over Kansas State and 18-15 over SMU.
Yep.
Right? So they've got at least some quality wins on their resume that I don't think you can say Texas has. And they're undefeated. I think they put a little weight on this.
No, I don't know if they put rank on it. But Kansas State lost this weekend. SMU did handle Pitt this weekend, so that win did just get better.
That win got better. So I think there's a real strong possibility that BYU gets moved up here. Like in all seriousness, I think BYU
you can talk me into 6. I don't think you can talk me into 3 or 4. My bad.
4. We're at 4.
Yeah, I don't think they're anywhere above 6.
So who do you think should be 4? And what's your argument for that then?
I think you're gonna start going to that.
You're still saying Texas.
And I don't think any. I think it's gonna be Big Ten SEC schools. Like I'm not telling you. I'm telling you what I think the committee is going to do.
I know.
I understand some of your arguments.
I'm trying to think of this from the committee standpoint.
Yes.
And where am I going to put people?
Yes, and that's where I'm at. Texas or Tennessee is going to be 4 and 5. They're going to be SEC schools. Texas or Tennessee?
Tennessee. I mean, what's Tennessee got? What does Tennessee got? They got a win over Alabama.
Yep.
Which Georgia doesn't have.
Yep.
They have no other wins at this point.
Yep.
But they're playing Georgia soon.
Yep.
I mean, they've got Mississippi State.
And that loss was Arkansas. And I mean, every team, I'm not going to say every team because not every team's lost, but the committee has shown in the past an early season before the rankings loss doesn't impact them like as much as people sometimes want it to.
Well, I think Florida State proved last year. The committee puts a lot of weight on how you're playing lately.
And that's also, I haven't even brought that up. That's one of my undefeated. I mean, the eyeball test. Do we want to say just because you're undefeated?
I hate the eyeball test.
I know.
But so I would feel better about Tennessee in the 4 spot than I would Texas.
Okay. So you're going to go Tennessee at the 4?
They've got the Alabama win.
Yeah.
Which, I find Alabama to be quite the enigma at this point.
Yeah.
Like it's like the Patriots, right? The Patriots have been good forever, and now they're not that good. And it's like,
Alabama, yeah.
It's like Alabama's been good forever.
Alabama's fallen off and not as much as the Patriots, but yes.
Yeah. So is it as big a win as you'd like to think?
Yeah, I think it's a big win. I mean, that's a big rivalry.
But then is it a bigger loss for Georgia? So I think Tennessee's more likely to slide in the 4. If you're not going to put BYU there, I think you're going to put Tennessee there.
No, I'm not.
All right. So we'll go Tennessee 4. Yeah. All right. So now 5. And I think you're still debating those same teams at this point.
Yep.
So who do you think of 5?
I mean, I had Texas at my 4, so I'm going to be shooting them. This is where I start getting into Miami talk. I've got them in that 6-ish range, so you can start getting me into Miami in this 5 spot.
Yeah.
So I know you've been big on undefeated. I know you've been given a lot more than I have. I know you're big on Miami. I can slide them in at that 5 spot.
I think BYU is going to be ranked higher than Miami.
You think so?
So let's talk about the 3 unranked teams or the 3 undefeated teams right now.
Okay.
Let's just put those in order. Miami, BYU, and IU.
Yeah.
If you just had to rank those best to worst, who would you rank?
I'd probably be Miami, BYU, IU.
See, I think BYU's got a better resume.
Yeah, they.
I
And I
think
told you
Miami's-
Miami doesn't excite me. I don't think any.
I think Miami's got great athletes. I just think that BYU has the better resume.
Yeah. Which, truth be told, I haven't watched any BYU games.
I haven't either.
So
I'm going strictly off the resume, but they've got 2 wins over Sunday morning top 25 AP teams. I think I'm going to go BYU, Miami, IU. If I had to guess, BYU versus Miami head to head.
yeah, I don't think the committee has this BYU up this high. Is my take.
Yeah, you don't think so?
I don't see them. I see them 8 or 9.
Yeah. See, I think it's BYU, Miami, Indiana. So what's your reasoning for putting Miami ahead of BYU then?
What's my reasoning for putting Miami over BYU?
Yeah. I mean, who's Miami beat?
I just think that's where the rankings are going to be. I think they're going to go. I hate to say this. It's going to be name biased. It's going to be Miami. I mean, and I'm not. I told you I'm not sold on Miami.
I know, but I think if you're the committee and you take an honest shot at this, I think you got to look at BYU.
Yeah,
and
and
say
sad that we don't have any strength to schedule things up or anything, but that's what I was trying to pull up strength to schedule. But yeah, I mean,
BYU has 2 top 25 AP wins.
they do.
Miami has none. That's why I think it's got to be BYU over Miami. I mean, and we can pick on IU because who have they beat? I mean, they've not. I don't think IU has a.
And I've been dogging IU for it. So if I'm going to dog them, I guess I got to dog Miami too.
Yeah, I think.
And I told you I wasn't high on Miami. So if you think BYU is going to be 5,
I'm not sure I'm going to say 5 for BYU. And this is where I think it's an interesting conversation.
Okay.
It's Tuesday is going to be so exciting.
I know.
But I would.
And you're convincing me a little bit on BYU.
I think BYU, Miami, Indiana is how I would rank those because Indiana's played nobody at this point. They have their shot November 23rd against Michigan.
So here's my
against Ohio State, I should say.
So here's my question for you. We wake up, or next Saturday, BYU, Miami, neutral site. Who wins?
I haven't seen.
I haven't
seen much of either team.
And you have $50, and you're told you have to place a bet on this game. Who are you taking?
Neutral site.
Neutral site.
I haven't seen enough BYU to feel comfortable about that conversation. Like I've seen very little just because of us being away.
Yep. I know.
Like yesterday's the first chance I got to sit and watch any college football. I saw some good things. I saw athleticism on the Miami team, which is what I always expect.
Yes.
The Florida kids are always athletic, and they recruit the state of Florida. It's like Florida State. They've always got athletes. How well are they coached? I saw some sloppiness out of the Miami kids, too.
Yep. But they figured it out, and they didn't win that game up. I left. So what was it, 2-3 scores?
Something like that.
Like they ended up winning. It didn't make it seem like a close game as it was earlier.
I'm going to probably go... I'm going to guess BYU though. I probably
think.
I probably
I think I would go Miami.
I think
I know
that's where we split there. I just think BYU's a proven commodity. I think Miami's going to come in.
I just think Miami's going to put up points because I know that's something they'll do. And I mean, we're looking at these scores for the BYU wins, and it's like
they weren't impressive wins, but they were top 25 wins.
They were top 25, but they're not demolished. Like, so if you're telling me a top 5 teams playing a top 25 team, so 20 to 25 team, because that's what those wins would end up being. You think they should have won by more? Because that's the IU argument. They haven't played very good teams, but
they're winning a lot.
They're winning by a lot.
Yeah, they're not just winning; they're winning by large margins.
What did you say those BYU scores were again?
38-9 over Kansas State, and then 18-15 over SMU.
And I think
that's not a bad SMU team.
Yeah.
Like the Kansas State team, a lot of people were higher on Kansas. I mean, Kansas State's ranked higher than SMU.
Yeah.
And they handled it at Kansas State. So,
which I think that'll flip. But anyways.
So yeah, where are we at now? We're ranking 6?
5. We haven't got a 5. We got Tennessee at 4. Who are we going 5?
It's either going to be Texas or BYU.
Oh, you're getting back in on Texas now?
Well, again, I think the bias of Texas.
I'm thinking Texas.
I would probably, in all seriousness, I would say it's probably Texas then BYU.
Yeah. So BYU 6 then.
Yeah.
Okay. So recap: Oregon 1, Georgia 2, Ohio State 3, Tennessee 4, Texas 5, BYU 6 is what we've got as combined one.
Yep. So now we're into number 7.
And this, yeah. So now it gets.
I think it gets really interesting conversation here. I think the Irish enter this conversation.
Yeah, I think that's what I was going to say. I think the Irish are now into the conversation. And this is where I had the Irish ranked 7th in my personal rankings. But I had BYU farther back. I had BYU at 9.
Yeah.
So we're mixed around a little bit. That's completely fine. And we haven't had Miami yet. We haven't ranked Penn State yet, where I think they're in this conversation. Miami, Penn State, Notre Dame, I think, are the teams in this 7, 8, and 9 talk.
Yeah. See,
I know you want to get IU in there too.
I sort of.
I've got IU at 10 in mine, just so you know.
Here's where I want to try and keep my bias for Notre Dame out of the conversation, and that's not easily done.
Nope.
I bleed blue and gold. But I also think Notre Dame becomes a very difficult team for the playoff committee to rank.
I couldn't agree more.
If we were undefeated, I think we're
light up Grace Hall
5 or 6, right? I mean, I don't know. We're not number 1.
We're probably. I think we're.
But we're 5 or 6 easy.
Oh, I think we're higher
undefeated.
than that.
We're 5 or from the college football playoff committee. I don't know.
Yeah, I think we're higher than that with our wins.
But if we're undefeated, A&M is a good win.
Yep.
Like Louisville's not a bad win.
Nope.
Right? I mean, like
I think the committee is going to be favorable to Louisville, and that's going to surprise some people.
Yeah.
Just because they've lost 1-score games and they crushed Miami.
Yeah, they've been
Clemson.
They've been good. And I was a little upset that A&M lost yesterday.
Yeah.
But I also think, okay, that could be good for us because they've been really good lately.
Yeah.
And they've got some really good wins lately.
Yeah.
So I think it's kind of a scenario where we were thinking Notre Dame was going to get jumped by A&M last week, and they didn't.
Yeah.
To our surprise, they both moved up, and Notre Dame stayed right ahead of them. So, yeah, I feel like Notre Dame's got a really strong shot coming in here, but I also think, okay, now is Miami, we got Tennessee still, right?
Nope, we slid them in at 4.
We slid them. Okay, we got Tennessee in at 4. So, yeah, now we've got.
So I think in this group, it's going to be Penn State, Notre Dame, Miami.
Yeah.
I think that's the 3 teams fighting for this 7, 8, 9 spot in my opinion.
I would agree. That's where they're going to fall in at. I think this is your 7, 8, 9.
Yep. Now order them, right? Just that easy.
Now put them in order. Miami doesn't have any great wins.
No.
Penn State doesn't have any great wins.
No. And that's what gives Notre Dame the upper hand there.
That's where I'm at. Like, okay, this isn't just my Notre Dame bias showing.
Where Notre Dame has the big deficit is that they don't have a bad loss.
Yeah, Notre Dame has the worst loss of the group for sure.
So I think that's where it depends on opinion right there. What's the committee take more, the better wins or not having a bad loss?
I think the better win.
Because if you rank these teams, so let's do this. Let's rank them better wins.
Okay.
Notre Dame's going to be the 7. I'm not saying we're going to write this down. I'm just saying we're going to do it this way. The better win will be Notre Dame will be 7.
Yeah.
I mean,
Miami and Penn State don't have great wins.
Right, but I think it would lean Penn State.
Penn State has the win over Illinois.
I think it would lean Penn State just because the Big Ten, they played a Big Ten schedule. It would lean them.
Yes.
And then Miami would be the last one off best wins. Now, if you do the losses,
Miami has no loss.
So they'd be the 7. Penn State would be the 8. Notre Dame would be the 9.
So now, okay, so then you got to say project it head to head. Because I think we're kind of saying either way, Penn State's going to be the 8. So Notre Dame and Miami play head to head. Who do you think wins?
Notre Dame. Not out my mind.
Notre Dame, Penn State play head to head. Who do you think wins?
Notre Dame.
Miami, Penn State play head to head. Who do you think wins? I think
Miami. Yeah.
Right? So that's where I'm at. I'm thinking Notre Dame, Miami, Penn State.
Think so?
That's kind of where my head goes.
Yeah.
As I think through this,
I could live with that.
All right, so we're gonna slot Notre Dame in at 7.
Yep.
Miami at 8, and Penn State at 9. All right, now we gotta go to IU.
Yeah, well, I like what we did that one though. We had groups. I think that'll be a very similar thing for this next one, and I think this next one probably is a little bit bigger. So it's probably IU, Alabama, Boise, and A&M would be my next 4 group.
Yeah, I think Iowa State and Clemson would have been in that conversation
Yep.
before yesterday,
And I think
they're out.
Yeah, and I think LSU will follow right behind this group would be my guess. Because I don't think you can put LSU in front of Texas A&M after they just lost to them.
Yeah.
So I think LSU will be right behind this group would be my personal opinion. I don't know where you're at on that. Yeah, if Iowa State and Clemson wouldn't have lost yesterday, they were talking a different story in this area, but
yeah,
that's where I've got. I've got IU, Alabama, Boise State, and A&M.
I mean, you look at Boise State's loss.
Yep.
37-34 against Oregon.
At Oregon.
Yeah. Like that is, and they beat Washington State, which is in the top 25.
Yep.
I think Boise State's the team I'm sliding in here.
Think you're leaning Boise?
I think I'm leaning Boise.
I've got Boise personally ranked at 12 right now on mine, but I could definitely be talking to a Boise if we're going off resume at that 10 spot.
Yeah, I think it's Boise and A&M.
And remember, this is our group of 5 team. So they don't have to even be in this. They just have to be the highest ranked.
Yeah.
But for those teams on the bubble, like not having a group of 5 team at 20 is very good for these bubble teams that they're already in the mix. Like, you're not sitting there at 11 and like, oh crap, we got that group of 5 teams still behind us. Like,
yeah, I think Boise State gets that.
You think they're at this 10?
I do. I think they're at this 10 spot. And then I
can go with that. You go locking that in, Boise State 10?
Boise State 10. And I think A&M 11. Even though they lost, I think A&M still, because A&M's got good wins.
Yeah.
And they, and if you,
and they still got a tough schedule remaining. So,
and again, the loss to Notre Dame was a good loss.
Yep.
South Carolina, not so much.
Yeah.
But, they beat Mizzou and they beat LSU.
Yep.
They've
got a very strong schedule. So I didn't go over this. I wanted to do this for you. If the championship games are today, here's what they'd be: ACC, Miami versus SMU; SEC, Georgia, A&M; Big Ten, IU versus Oregon; and Big 12, BYU, Iowa State. If they started today, off today's rankings or standings, not rankings.
Yesterday's rankings.
Yeah, the standings.
Yeah. So do you think A&M 11?
I think so.
Yeah,
I think that's a good spot for them.
So then that gets us into
IU and Bama.
I feel like a 2-loss Bama team is much better than an unlost IU team. As much as I made the arguments earlier for IU,
I know. And now we got them sliding this far back, and you wanted to argue 3 earlier, huh?
I would not be. I don't expect.
There's less than a 3% chance.
But you wouldn't knock me off my chair shocked that if IU got credit for those wins and was in the top 10. I'll just put it that way. I don't expect them to be top 4, but I made. The argument,
I think people are going to. I think this is the team, and I said this earlier. IU is going to be a team that people are going to be a lot higher, and then I'm the opposite of you. UC won't be surprised if they're in the top 10. I won't be surprised if they're outside the top 15.
All I know is if they make the top 6, the back shirts are breaking out IU.
Yeah. But that's my take. I will be more surprised if they're in the top 10 than if they're outside the top. I'll even say 17.
So do we agree Alabama's more likely to be 11? And then, of course,
we got A&M at 11, so we're at 12 right now.
Or 12. And then, so you got IU.
Then we've got A&M ranked. So where are we putting LSU can now fall in this group, I think.
Yeah, that's what I was just thinking. You got LSU, you got Kansas State.
They lost yesterday, remember?
Oh, that's right. They did
lose yesterday. I know that was
and SMU beat Pitt, yeah?
Yep. So SMU, and they smoked Pitt. And their loss is to who's SMU? Who did they lose to?
I don't recall. I'd have to look it up.
I feel like it was someone decent. Oh man.
You looking it up?
Yeah, I'll look.
I don't have my phone with me, so yeah, I think you're talking Alabama, IU, LSU, SMU in this next grouping. Yeah, and I find that interesting.
Yeah, it's definitely it's not easy. This is not easy. Like, if you sit down with someone and try to have this, and there's 13 members in this committee, right?
Yeah. Getting 13 people to agree on lunch is difficult.
Yeah.
I mean, we have a hard time getting 4 of us to agree on lunch.
Yeah.
So
So SMU's loss was to BYU 18-15. Yes, we went over that earlier.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
So SMU has a good.
They have a good loss.
That's our number 6 team right now. And that's it. And then they just smoked an undefeated Pitt team, and they're in track to be in the ACC championship right now.
So, yeah. So I'm kind of thinking, does SMU jump IU and Alabama?
Yeah.
I'm going to be bold here.
Think so?
I'm going to say SMU, LSU, Alabama, Indiana, in that order.
I don't hate that. All right, so we're going SMU 12.
SMU 12.
Bama. Or
LSU 13.
See, that LSU, Bama, I could see 13, 14. They're going to be right there, I think.
Yeah, you could flop that. And then we're saying Bama and then IU.
Yep. And then I think, are we going 15 or are we just going all 25 now? What are we doing?
It's so hard to get to be on 15. I think.
I was going to say, because in this next one, you got to have Iowa State, Clemson, Ole Miss, Army, I think
K-State,
Washington State, Kansas State. I think is going to fall because they're 2 lost now. So I think they're going to follow because they're about 18 in that 8 people. So I think they're going to be quite a bit back. I'll just read off the teams I've got that I think are going to fight for a top 25 spot.
So we've ranked what?
We've ranked all the way to 15.
We're at 15.
So
let's not rank anymore. Let's just ride with our 15.
Yeah, I just want to say the teams I think in that.
And then let's talk about who's at 15 to 20. Yeah.
So we've got ours. We've got our top 15. We've got a group of 5, so we don't need to go any farther. So here's what we've got right now. You've got the seeding over there, right?
Yep.
So you got a pen?
I got a pen.
All right. So right now, our number 1, you had a pen.
I got a pen again.
Our number 1 seed, you remember, our top 4 conference champions.
Yeah.
So Oregon would be the number 1 seed.
Definitely. 2
would be Georgia because they're our number 2 team, our conference champ.
Yep.
So that's our Big 10 and SEC. So now we're looking for either ACC or Big 12 here. And that gets us down to number 6 at BYU.
Yeah, I think ACC is going to get the 3 seed. So that's going to be BYU.
Nope, they're
I'm sorry.
Big 12.
They're Big 12.
Yep.
I think they might fall to.
But we're just going off our rankings.
Okay, so they're going to get BYU is going to get it. So that means
that would mean Miami is our 8 and they would be the 4 seed.
Yeah.
That's based off our ranking.
Based off our ranking, our guess.
So then our 5 would be Ohio State.
Yep.
Our 6 would be Tennessee.
Okay.
Our 7 would be Texas.
All right.
Our 8 would be the Irish.
All right.
Our 9 would be Penn State.
I like that.
10, Boise.
All right.
11, A&M. And then our 12 would be SMU.
That'd be interesting.
All right, so let's go through the matchups there because who would be playing? Start that 12-5 matchup.
You're going to have SMU versus Ohio State in that 12-5.
Okay.
At Ohio State.
At Ohio State, and they get the winner. And
they go to Miami.
The winner would
or
play
they go neutral versus Miami.
Okay, so it would be Boise State versus Ohio State, which I think would be a very interesting matchup.
Very. And then the winner travels
gets Miami. Yeah.
Then you got the 9-8, which is Penn State at Notre Dame. Winner goes and plays Oregon.
Okay, let me write this down so I can talk about this. So then Oregon.
Yep. And then at the 11 seed, you'd have A&M playing the 6 seed in Tennessee.
Mm-hmm.
And the winner gets BYU.
Mm.
And then you've got 10 seed Boise at 7 seed Texas.
I know we had Boise.
Boise at 10.
Yep, so SMU was the 12, right?
SMU was the 12.
Gotcha. That was on me.
So the 10 seed is Boise playing Texas. At Texas, winner goes to Georgia. So I was just sitting there thinking through this. Are you going to have, and I think this is interesting.
So here's my take. I'll just get this real quick because I think I know what you're going to say. They're not going to worry about this rankings 1.
No.
the last rankings, that'll be the interesting part. Will they try to avoid repeat matchups in that first or second round?
See, this is where I don't like the playoff committee, because I feel like they try and tip the scale a little bit to try and make better matchups as opposed to truly ranking. Because I feel like you're going to have 3 Big Ten teams and you're going to have 3 SEC teams in for sure. And I feel like they're going to put one's going to get a bye, one's going to get a home game, and one's going to be on the road.
Yeah.
Whether they should be or not. I mean, if they think they're 8 and 9, if they think it's, Texas and LSU are 8 and 9, they'll still move them around so that they don't play each other and one's on the road.
Well, see, that's what I find it interesting. Texas, if you're saying Texas and LSU, like, they didn't play each other in the regular season, though.
Yeah.
So are they going to avoid conferences, or are they going to avoid who you've played already?
Well, more likely to probably avoid a rematch.
That's right.
They are conference. But
if you're saying Texas and Texas A&M, like, they just played.
They're going to play Thanksgiving weekend, right? So I think it'll be interesting to see if there's a bias that shows up. I hope there's not. I just hope they rank them based off. But let it fall where it falls. But
and this will be the most interesting part to me. So you've got SMU, Ohio State, 12-5. Winner gets Oregon. Ohio State, Oregon already played.
No. SMU, Ohio, the winner gets Miami.
Oh, my bad. Yes.
Yeah. SMU and Ohio are 12-5. The winner goes against Miami at 4.
Yep. Okay, that's on me. But Penn State, man, I would like that. Penn State coming to Notre Dame.
I would like them. I was hoping for a Miami or a warm school coming north.
Yeah.
But a classic Penn State Notre Dame rivalry would be great. I think Penn State's a very beatable team.
Snowball.
Yeah. Oh man, just give me that.
Yeah.
Give me a game where it's all about running the ball.
Yeah.
Passing the ball is not an option or not a great one. I like us a lot in that environment.
Yeah, no kidding. But okay, so SMU, Ohio State. That'd be a really interesting matchup.
That would be.
I think Ohio State would end up winning and then would get Miami, and then Ohio State would be looking. I think Ohio State would really like that draw there.
I would think you're a Ohio State fan. You got to feel good about it.
And then you get a rematch on neutral site against an Oregon team you lost to by 1 point.
Potentially.
Yeah, I'm just saying, like, if you take the number one, I'm just saying if you take the best seeds and that one.
I think if you're Ohio State, but see, I'm SMU. I'm looking at Ohio State and saying they're beatable.
Oh yeah.
I mean, at SMU, I'm not like fearing that matchup.
Yeah.
Same thing with Miami. I'm going to say they're beatable.
Yep.
So I think, and again, if you're Miami, Ohio State's good, but they're beatable.
Yeah.
And SMU's beatable.
I told you I'm not sold on Miami, so
I just think the Miami mindset. I think that becomes a very intriguing.
Here's what I was getting at. That's what I messed up. I was saying OSU, Oregon. I had those flipped. SMU ACC championship game loses to Miami. Are they going to be right if they win against Ohio State? You think they're avoiding that?
Oh, maybe.
That's what I'm saying. Like,
does it affect the seeding?
Do
they move them to 11 and they move A&M to 12?
Yeah.
If that's the way it works out.
Yeah.
I could see that.
See, that's where I don't know, and that's where I'm not sure where the committee will be at. Will they be look at? We haven't had this yet.
Yeah, I think they will. I hope they don't. I hope they go at it kind of like we did. We debate the resumes and we talk about it and we put our best together. Now they're going to watch a lot more film than what we've watched.
100%.
And they're going to have a lot more debates. But I think the committee will, in fact, tip the scale a little bit here or there. Okay, well, we don't want SMU. Maybe we're going to move them up to 10 and move A&M back to 12.
Yeah.
We'll flip one or two there to get better matchups. And then you look at the 9-8 Notre Dame Penn, and then the winner goes Oregon. I feel like Penn is so beatable.
Yeah.
And I feel like Oregon's strength is the passing game.
Yeah.
And I wished we were healthy.
Yeah.
I wish we had BMO. I wish we had Jaden Mickey.
Yeah.
If we had full strength in our secondary, I like us a lot against Oregon.
Yeah, and Oregon,
I do.
And I think we both agree Oregon right now is the best team in college football.
Yes.
But they don't. It's not one of those years where it's like you feel the best team is a mile in front of everybody.
Because our weakness, if any, is our offensive line still.
Yep.
And I think that Oregon plays a smaller line, typically more athletic.
Yep. Faster pace.
And I think their defensive line is smaller and more athletic.
Yep.
Which kind of makes me think of what we'd see against Navy, maybe a little more talented.
Definitely more talented, but
similar, But I'm just going. I think Notre Dame beats Penn State,
Yeah.
I think Notre Dame has a real strong chance of beating an Oregon.
Yeah.
Like I fear Georgia more than I fear Oregon.
Yeah.
Like I really do. And then so that's I like, and this is going to sound so homer, so biased.
Mm-hmm.
Like I can't even. I expect it, right? So if you're listening and you want to give me the, my Notre Dame bias is showing, I understand.
Yeah.
But we talked about this earlier. Marcus Freeman is tied with Frank Leahy in the first 3 years for top 25 wins.
Yeah.
If there's been anything that Marcus Freeman has struggled with, it's the lesser games, getting the team to be up and be prepared for those. We get to the playoffs. There is no lesser team.
No.
These are all big games.
Yeah.
And like
the best of the best.
Getting your team. Now, the question is, can you get your team ready 4 games in a row?
Oh, yeah.
Can you obtain it and maintain it? I think Notre Dame's playing better football week by week.
Oh, my goodness. We've talked about that off air.
And
Notre Dame's getting better every
We're getting
week.
better. Despite injuries, we're getting better. So, and there are people that are legitimately putting Riley Leonard in the Heisman candidate.
Top
he's
10.
not going to win it. But he's in the conversation
yeah.
legitimately.
Yeah.
And these aren't the crazy Notre Dame fans that are like Riley for Heisman and the other fans that are Riley's trash, get him out. So I like Notre Dame in that matchup. I like Notre Dame's odds. I mean, I like us there. And then I go back and I look at 11-8 and I say, okay, that's A&M and Tennessee.
Yeah.
That would be a great game.
I'd love to see that.
And then they go, the winner goes to BYU.
Yep.
I honestly feel like whoever wins the A&M Tennessee game beats BYU.
Yeah.
So if I'm sitting here, I've got Ohio State playing Notre Dame in the semifinal. I'm going to go A&M over Tennessee.
Yeah.
And then
I think that's a coin flip.
Yeah, I do. And I'm going to go A&M over BYU. And then I go to the last bracket, which is Boise State versus Texas. I feel like Texas is going to win that game.
Yeah.
But I don't want to sell Boise State short. And then you're going to have an epic Georgia Texas.
But here, are they going to
allow that rematch?
Are they going to avoid that? So is Notre Dame going to slide down to that 7? And then they've got Boise. And then who'd you just say you were more scared of than Oregon?
Georgia.
Yeah.
Georgia.
So you get Boise in the first round, and Notre Dame, I think, shuts down the running back, but Gentry or whatever his name is. But.
So we're going back to the Peach Bowl.
Yeah.
Like we're going to be back with Atlanta.
Yeah.
And it makes sense. If you're going to win,
you got to be the best.
You got to be the best. So
and that's not where our rankings are, and that's just all speculation right now. But so we're going to go based on what we have. But that's one of those things you have like, all right, is the committee going to try to avoid that Texas Georgia in the second round game? So are they going to flip Notre Dame up and drop Texas, or heck, maybe they flip Tennessee and Texas though, because I guess Texas. No, they can't do that because Texas and Texas A&M.
Yeah,
that'd be a lot more flopping there. So
I figure they're gonna tip the scale. But if the way we've got it ranked, I see Texas beats Boise. I think Georgia beats Texas.
Yep, and then
you got Texas playing. A&M.
You got A&M. I'll probably go Tennessee.
Or Tennessee.
I've got Tennessee.
I'm with you with the coin toss.
Yeah.
So I think you're looking at a Final Four of Ohio State, Notre Dame, Texas,
or
Georgia, and then Tennessee
or Texas.
Versus either Tennessee or A&M. That's interesting. I would take Georgia over Tennessee or A&M.
Uh-huh.
And then you get the dream scenario: Notre Dame versus Ohio State.
Oh.
Sometime in my life, we've got to beat Ohio State.
And
Why not now?
Yeah, we were surely
close. Now?
And there's no reason to say like Notre Dame big game biased. I mean, I think Notre Dame. I know people in the national media are going to say that Notre Dame can't win the big game, but I think it's starting. I think this is the year it officially changes.
Is Ohio State better this year than last year?
I don't think so.
Should we have won that game last year?
Yeah.
There was a missed opportunity for an interception.
Yeah.
There was 10 men on the field. I think it's a game Notre Dame wins.
Yeah.
And I think it's just after the NIU loss, I felt like, man, we'll be lucky to make the playoffs.
Yeah.
And now I'm sitting there saying, I can see that path. And not only can I see that path, I can see us making the championship game.
Yeah. I mean, and that's
against the Georgia team
that
I'm most concerned about matching up with is Notre Dame.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And that's the fun of this, though. We're saying we could see a path in Notre Dame, but I could also see a path Penn State. I mean, I don't think we could lose a first round game. I don't think we lose to Penn State in this scenario. But I'm just saying there's potential of us losing a first round game.
If we lose to Penn State, they're not going beyond Oregon.
No.
in our ranking.
Right.
And what is it now? It's almost noon on Sunday.
Yeah.
As we're talking.
Yeah.
In 6 hours, this is all going to be blown up.
Yep.
It's all going to, like, the rankings will come out. There'll be
the
some
AP poll will come out Tuesday.
On Tuesday,
they will have the official
we'll
stuff.
know exactly what's going on.
Yep, and we'll have a much better feel for what the committee's actually seeing. And then I'm sure our Florida State preview will obviously be previewing the game, but we're going to be talking a lot about these rankings, what these matchups would look like now, who's got to play who, all that fun stuff. That's bubble watch. I mean, we're full March Madness mode right now, and it's freaking exciting that we're talking about football like this.
It's November craziness. I don't know what to call it, but November in college football is going to become quite possibly like the best month of the year.
Yeah.
Like, if you like college football, November is just going to be, all the games are getting bigger.
Yep.
All the speculation of who wins, the weight of the game, the meaning of the win and the loss.
Yeah.
It just all gets amplified. It's exciting. Like,
oh yeah,
I am in no hurry for November to be over.
Oh yeah, because we got some exciting stuff coming up here.
But I'm excited about Florida State coming to Notre Dame.
Yep.
I'm excited about the senior night game.
Yep.
I'm excited to go back to New York for Yankee Stadium.
Yeah.
I'm stoked to be out in Southern Cal for the Southern Cal game.
Yeah. That's a fun trip right there.
But it's going to be mad.
Yeah.
It's going to be mad.
And every week it's just going to be, you can sit down and do this and have something completely different in 1 week from today.
So yeah, if you've got strong opinions one way or the other, hit us up on social.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let us know what your thoughts are.
100%.
What you think.
Where's our biggest mistake?
Yeah. Where did we go wrong?
Yeah.
Because I'm sure the committee is going to have something different.
Oh, I'm sure our rankings will be nowhere near.
I don't think we're getting invited to come sit on the committee based on our conversation.
No.
But I think it'll be interesting, and I'm excited for it. I'm excited about where Notre Dame's at, and
I feel good about it. Now
we got to be one game at a time. Now keep that mentality.
Oh yeah, I don't think there's a situation Wednesday where we come in to talk about this show and we're like, crap, we're on the outside looking in. I don't see that happening.
I wouldn't think so.
Yeah,
but
first ranking.
It's and. If we're on the outside looking in, the only thing we've got to save us going forward is Army.
Yeah,
like that's the only there's no Florida State and USC have become the Navy game.
Yeah, we
got a lot more to lose and a lot less to gain.
Oh yeah,
we gain very little by winning. We lose a lot by losing.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think hopefully but yeah, I could see a scenario where we're in that 10-11 spot.
Yeah.
Easy. We kind of threw them out there, but
I mean, we kind of had our floor at 9 in our ranking.
Yes, but I would not be surprised if we slid in at like 10 or 11.
Yeah, because again, you're talking. We're Boise at 10 is worst losses to Oregon.
Yeah.
So, but they don't have an A&M win and a Louisville and
their best wins Washington State.
Yeah,
I think. So
all right. Well, that was a lot of fun.
Yeah, it's interesting.
Hope you guys enjoyed this one because that was a lot of fun for us. I mean, we were heated at some points. I was definitely like, "What are we doing?" I like our rankings at the end. I genuinely do.
I'm just used to you not always being right.
All right.
Okay.
Calm it down. I mean, you need to see. I'll be highlighting. We'll see how my rankings did versus our rankings.
Okay, we're gonna have to hear about that then.
Yep. So we appreciate you guys listening. Got anything else for this episode on our bye week spectacular?
That's it. We won the bye week again.
We won the bye week.
When you look at the AP poll, we should slide up a little.
Yeah.
And
it'll be interesting. Yeah, if we jump Penn State, where that'll be at.
But I'm no longer worried about AP.
Or
anything else.
AP poll, who cares?
Tuesday is the only poll I worry about.
Exactly.
So what's the big events going on Tuesday?
We got college football playoff ranking.
Yes.
NFL
trade deadline.
I think.
That's it.
I think that's it.
That's it. Okay.
So
nothing else to worry about.
Probably a lot of arguing going on Tuesday night late and Wednesday morning about the college football playoff rankings and why didn't my NFL team get some players. But that's probably it.
That's all you got to worry about.
So, it's going to be a great week. Just watch ESPN. Don't turn on any other channel this week.
Yeah, maybe not even do that, but just watch a little bit of ESPN.
Yeah.
You're doing it.
If you're going to watch TV, probably sports. That's what you want to be.
That's your best bet.
That's your best bet. Good luck, everyone, this week.
All right.
Hope the rankings and trades work out how you want.
Because the reason I love sports, we care so much about something that means so little.
Yep.
Absolutely.
It's great. We hope you enjoyed this episode of the Irish 365 podcast.
You can find us wherever you get your podcast.
We are on YouTube, X, Instagram, and Facebook.
Just search for Irish 365 Pod.
And you can always reach us at our email, irish365pod@gmail.com.
Good night.
And God bless.